adopt an abundance mindset. I don't know about you, Joel, but in my work with churches, I often hear people say things like, well, people are giving all they can. We really can't ask them to give anymore. Or they'll say, well, we should really just do a soft ask this year. Have you heard that in your?
I have, and of course now top of mind is inflation and
Exactly.
cost of gas and the housing market and how it's changed. So all of those variables tend to contribute to caution and cutting back and kind of holding our own.
Right. Right. And what's interesting is research suggests that not only can people give more, but they want to give more. But I think what is often true is that people are giving all they've been asked to give, or they're giving all that they've been compelled to give. I think sometimes we ourselves kind of get sucked into that scarcity mindset and think that we need to hold back and keep our budget small. And we even invite people to make a pledge based on the fact that we're keeping expenses down and we're holding to last year's budget. And I always wonder, if you're a donor in a church, like, why would you give more if the church is just going to do what they did last year?
Great
So
point. Yeah.
I would love people to remember that God is giving you all the resources you need to accomplish God's vision. And so don't get caught in that cycle of scarcity. Yes, times are challenging. Times are definitely different. We're working with that, all the things that Joel talked about, but God is working miracles in and through you. And so please don't hesitate to think big, dream big, and invite people to help you support whatever you're feeling God is calling you to do. So Joel, let's talk about some keys to success.
Absolutely. So we have four that are listed here. There are clearly more, but these were four that we felt would be very significant in what we're trying to talk about today and can help your church. The first is we believe, we've experienced, we've seen that giving works best when it's grounded in gratitude, when it's revealed through prayer and it's lived out in faith, rather than focusing on generosity connected to the budget. So budgets are important, and we're certainly not saying budgets aren't important. They're essential. Balance sheets, line items, they're incredibly important, but those are tools for management and oversight. And typically you're not going to find spiritual growth and a movement in the heart because of a budget. So as you're thinking about an abundance mindset, always think about gratitude and grateful for what God is doing in the church. Lead your people through a season of prayer, and then keep that element of faith as a part of it. I think a second thing is always show how increased giving will enable your church to have a greater impact. One of the things that inspires people to give more is when they can see the impact of their giving. And connect that giving to ministry impact. Share your story. Every church is writing a story. And I think the question is, do your people know your story? And are you learning how to tell your story? I was with a church earlier this week, and we spent an hour just talking about how to become master storytellers and how to share stories that are inspiring and encouraging. People remember stories, they're inspired by stories. So this is going to be a great season as you move into the final quarter of this year to look back over the previous 3 quarters and look for those stories where God has moved and worked in an amazing way, and share those stories, and then connect that to the generosity of the people. And then the fourth one is provide on-ramps that create a variety of giving options. We've had checks and cash, and people still give checks and still give cash. More and more people are moving to online, but I'm working with a church that we're getting ready to add a Venmo option, so that in the context of worship, if there are those in worship, that is their way of giving, they can give that way, or text giving. So rather than limit the ways that people can give, we want to provide a variety of ways that people can provide giving to the church.
I think that last one, Joel, is super important. I know a church recently told me that they had text to give. They had the ability to do text to give, but they hadn't really promoted it, hadn't talked about it, hadn't really used it. And they thought, well, nobody must want to do text to give. Well, they decided on a particular Sunday to go ahead and put their text to give number on the online version when they're live streaming. And lo and behold, all kinds of people decided to participate in the offertory that day via text to give. So making sure that you have a variety of options for giving, I think is a super important objective.
And Christine, you know, we've got grown teenagers. We've got two of our granddaughters that one is 19, one is 21. And the word for them, well, just Venmo that. I will Venmo this to you. Venmo that to me. Or they're out eating together, one pays and they Venmo each other. It is such a native language to them. We want to be sure that if those kinds of folk are in our worship services and our settings, that the language that is native to them is being provided for them to give. So the Venmo piece, I don't see it as much. I see it coming more and more onto the scene.
Yeah. One of our participants asked if we could give a real example about how Venmo works for those who might be techno novices. And I would encourage you to download the app and give it a try yourself. You won't believe how simple it is, even for those of us that technology isn't our native language. And so it's super easy. You have people, you can search for them. They can give you their Venmo contact info, and all you do is send it. If you've ever done Zelle, which is very similar to Venmo, but Zelle usually happens through your bank. It's a very similar process, and it's super easy to do.